Welcome to the Double R Show, the podcast that features everything about North Lincoln County. The Double R Show, directed and produced by Paul Robertson and hosted by the voice of Lincoln City, Roger Robertson.
Our guest this afternoon on the podcast is Claire Hall. Claire is a county commissioner. You have been in that seat for...
This is my 20th year, Roger.
20 years?
Yep.
That seems like an eternity.
In some ways it does, but in some ways it seems like yesterday. It seems like just yesterday I was the new kid walking into the courthouse and Don Lindley was the wise old hand that had been there forever, but look what you get when you stick around, hang around long enough.
20 years, you got to look back and say, my golden accomplishment was...
Well, I could maybe name a few. I mean, certainly just keeping public services going and going at a quality level that people have come to expect. I have fought to get more resources for drug and alcohol treatment, got the... drug court program going very early in my term. I'm a huge fan of that, and that's saving lives literally and getting families back together. And of course, my big focus is on housing and homelessness. And it feels like an overnight success, but in showbiz or anything else, there are no overnight successes. In about the last 5 years, we've got something like 500 permanent, transitional, or emergency housing units we didn't have there, but it's like it was 15 years of pushing, and then all of a sudden it all pays off.
So often I hear about the county courthouse building having problems.
Yes.
And is there a problem?
Well, the issues are 2/3 of it was built in 1955, the rest in 1965. First and foremost, the number one concern to me, the fact that it's not seismically safe. So I think about members of the public who come in there every day to do business. I think about our employees. A retrofit might be possible, but then the issue is, that place has stood longer than the first wooden courthouse when the county was created in Toledo in 1893. And I think, during my time on the job and people before me, we've done a good job of adapting it to computers and modern security needs and all the rest. But it's really seen its day. And I'm hoping, it's not at the top of my list, but is down on my list, looking for ways we might be able to finance a replacement at some point.
As you look at what has changed from the 20 years that you've been on the council, the one thing that comes to me is the county administrator.
Yes.
That's a huge change.
It is a huge change. When Wayne Belmont, who had been our county council, essentially lead attorney for 30-plus years, retired, he had been doing a lot of lawyering, and he had also been doing a lot of administrative stuff. But we looked at, is this the right moment to consider this? Moving from, having somebody else carrying administrative duties to getting a full-time manager or administrator. We found we were the largest county in the state, both in terms of budget, population, workforce, without one. And really, we're talking about an organization with a $160 million budget right now and more than 500 employees. And I think it's our obligation to make sure, as commissioners, part of it is make sure it's managed as well and as professionally as possible.
So now what is the protocol, if you will? If I have a question for the county, do I take it to the commissioners? Do I take it to the administrator? Where do I go?
Take it to our office. We've got the commissioners, legal counsel, and the administrator all in one office. And the folks who rotate on our front desk, they're used to being information bureaus. It might be something we as commissioners directly would address. It might be somebody else in the office. Or often I hear her explaining, no, but we can't help you here, but assessment can, or planning, or the clerk. And, we'll get you directed where you need to be.
Okay, because it's a huge change.
Yeah, it has been significant growth. I think the biggest thing, is that the money has been there, that we supplemented our longtime network of school-based health centers with adult primary care clinics. We've got one in Lincoln. We've had ones in Newport and Lincoln City for a long time. A couple of years ago, we were able to open up in Waldport as well. And, we're serving in a typical year about 10% of the population. We know we can't be the total solution to the demand for primary health care, but we're glad we can be part of it.
You mentioned money. Money is a key word when it comes to the county budget. What kind of shape are we in right now?
Overall, right now, I'm going to say good, though there are caution signs a couple of years down the road, I think.
Like?
Well, inflation now seems to be plateauing and starting to decline, but basically you got to remember, out of that $160 million budget, 80% of it is personnel. That if you're delivering services to people, it's got to be done by other people. We're not, we're not going to put artificial intelligences at the clerk's counter, at least not yet. But is inflation going to moderate enough? Well, we're going into this year negotiations with 5 of our 6 employee unions. And like any other employees of the county, want to be recognized, and I think what they would see as fairly compensated for their work. And, the problem is, there have been times, I'll just go, kind of very small scale. Here's an office with 5 people. They all feel they deserve, and probably do deserve raises. But if you give the raise, that's going to be one more thing that might maybe pushes us into like where we were back in 2011 and 12, where we had to let 65 people go. Probably the most painful thing, absolutely, I've ever been part of, and hope we never do it again.
Claire Hall is our guest county commissioner for the county of Lincoln County. We're going to take a break and come back. There is an announcement that's going to be made in the next segment.
Wouldn't it be great to have all your insurance needs handled by one agency? This is Charlotte Lado with Farmers Insurance and the Insurance Store. Visit our office next to the Wildflower Grill in Lincoln City. Let us be your one stop for your personal, commercial, health, and Medicare insurance needs.
When looking for the bestsellers of today and yesterday, look no further than Bob's Beach Books. Hi, I'm Diana Portwood, and on behalf of my sister Emily at Robert's Bookshop, we thank our dad, Bob, for the vision he had in establishing our 2 family-owned bookstores in Lincoln City.
If you're looking for great early garden fresh produce, it's Kenny's IGA in the Bay Area of Lincoln City. 4 generations of Morgans caring for your every grocery need. All of your favorite beverages, a full deli, meat, produce, and of course, groceries. Welcome back to the podcast. Our special guest is County Commissioner Claire Hall. And Commissioner Hall, you made mention in our first segment, 20 years you've sat in that chair, but there's a date coming forth that needs some attention, correct?
Yeah, perhaps the May primary date. You see, my current 4-year term is coming to an end of this year, and I have just filed the paperwork with the clerk's office to run for another 4-year term. I hope people will feel like that I'm still an effective representative for their needs, and I still love doing this job, and I'll just say it now, as I will say throughout the campaign, I humbly ask for your vote.
And why should I vote for Claire Hall?
Because I care. Because this county is in my blood. Even though I only moved here full-time in 1987, my parents brought me here as a child. I mean, my gosh, the Dorchester house, probably just a stone's throw from here. That's where my parents honeymooned in 1951. And in the 20 years, I think that I've been a commissioner, I think I was a good commissioner when I started. I think I'm a better one now. 20 years of experience, of learning, of connections. And I just want to work with anybody and everybody who wants to make this an even better place to live than it already is.
You know me, and you know me that I get a little centered on North Lincoln
Yes,
County.
Yes, sir, and understandably.
What are you going to give me in North Lincoln County? Why should North Lincoln County vote for Claire Hall?
Well, right now I haven't updated this, but a few years back I did a presentation for Lincoln City Chamber, and, we were looking at the numbers of Lincoln City people, both adults and students, coming to the health centers. Pretty good share of the county road mileage is in or abutting Lincoln City proper, and it's as much of a priority as the rest of the county. I won't make any promises, but I think we've got kind of a consensus in the office that as we look at building projects, that we want and need to get away from being quite so Newport-centric. I mean, like when we were looking for a new animal shelter, we actually had a couple of sites in the radar right here. They didn't work out, so we ended up in Walport. But maybe that new courthouse, I think we'll be building other things. We're looking at a new county transit center, essentially to be a bus barn and maintenance area. And I don't see any reason why it couldn't potentially be up here. But I just really always, and I hope people feel that it's sincere, this is one county. Yeah, we're Lincoln City, we're Tidewater, we're Siletz, but we're also all Lincoln County. This wonderful, beautiful, quirky, very independent-minded community. And I think, after 20 years in office and almost 40 years living here, I may just be starting to get the hang of things.
May well be. Let's talk about dollars and cents.
Sure.
You are halfway through this budget.
Yep.
On track?
Yes, so far. So far, there have been no surprises, but yeah, we do get regular updates from our finance department. And, budgeting is a science and also an art. If things are off 5% from where they should be at this point in the year, no real worries. On the rare cases where there's a big red flag, it hopefully gives us time, it usually does, to make adjustments.
Now, speaking of adjustments, you're probably into a new budget cycle, the beginning of the budget cycle,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Anything in that new budget that we should be aware of?
Well, I think it's a little premature at this point because this is the process where, essentially we tell the elected officials and non-elected department heads, bring forward your budget, current service levels rolling forward, accounting for inflation. And if they do have, significant new initiatives, projects, staff, equipment, this is where it'll come forward. So haven't seen it yet, but in these next couple, 6 to 8 weeks, the budget picture should start clearing up a lot.
A couple of minutes ago, you mentioned the word roads. I think a lot of us fail to remember the amount of county roads that are in this county.
Yeah, I mean, our total road system is more than 300 miles. There's 22 bridges. We all know quite well an infamous road where our mutual friend Patrick Alexander captured years ago the fish crossing the road. Again, that's a simple case where somebody who hasn't got the background on the situation would say, raise the road and the problem's solved. Well, unfortunately,
did that.
Yeah, we did, but not as much as we wanted to. And my understanding is it's helped. It hasn't eliminated it. I mean, for what our road engineers said would really be a proper fix, the EPA, ODF&W, being a sensitive wetlands area, they don't want us to mess with it too badly. I think we pushed it as far as we were able to, frankly.
Again, County Commissioner Claire Hall filed for re-election in the May primary. You got to win the primary to move on to the general, or if you win the primary, is it all over?
Well, it depends. It depends on how many candidates there are. If one person comes out of May with at least 50% of the votes plus
done.
one, it's done. Otherwise, top two go to a runoff.
All right. County Commissioner Claire Hall, candidate for re-election, County Commissioner position number
2.
Number 2. Back in a moment.
I'm Adina Zeller. Zellers is now in 2 North Lincoln County locations. The original Zellers in Rose Lodge and now Zellers in Lincoln City, formerly Maxwell's. Zellers with great family food and kickin' fun like our line dancing. Just wait until you try our homemade clam chowder.
Northwest Septic Service is your one-stop shop for all your septic needs.
Northwest Septic Service offers pumping, maintenance, repair, and inspections with one call, 541-994-6977.
Buying or selling a home? Northwest Septic Service can inspect your sewer line or an entire septic system.
Old or failing septic system? Northwest Septic Service can rejuvenate most drain fields, saving you thousands of dollars. 541-994-6977.
Serving Lincoln, Tillamook, and Yamhill counties, Northwest Septic Service.
We at La Roca are proud of our food, but don't take our word for it. Read the reviews. One person wrote, "The service was friendly and efficient." Another writes, La Roca has become one of our favorites because it's authentic Mexican food.
Dr. Lesley Ogden was the guest speaker at the Lincoln City Chamber of Commerce noon luncheon this week, and I was amazed at the different items, questions that you were able to respond to even before the Q&A began. And in particular, I was taken with the notion that now you can call Samaritan North Lincoln Hospital and get an appointment with a doctor without talking to the doctor's office. Is that right, Dr. Ogden?
Well, you're almost there. What happens is once you establish care, we have a direct scheduling program that runs through MyChart portal, meaning it's that app that you use on your phone or on your iPad or something along those lines to access all your healthcare information. So you go into that just like you're accessing your lab results or your x-ray results. And now you have a way to direct schedule with your primary care provider. So again, you have to have a primary care provider, but once you've established that with Samaritan, then this is available to you. And boy, it is so much simpler than making that phone call and trying to find whether an available appointment actually matches your schedule. Instead, you can look at all of the openings and just decide what works for you.
And what does this do for the hospital as the hospital? It's got to be a significant savings for you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, number one, technology is an enormous satisfier for people who use technology, right? We know there's always a component of our patients who won't or don't, but they're getting to be a smaller and smaller percentage. And more people want to use technology. And frankly, it helps us as well because for every person that we don't have to staff in our call center to answer calls, they can be doing something else to help us. So it's not like we don't have 20 million different jobs, across the system that we can't repurpose somebody for. It's just maybe that they don't need to be answering the phone as much. That being said, we still have an enormous call volume.
Oh, absolutely.
And so we are gradually moving people over to technology, but it's going to take us a long time.
Now, you talked as well about the viruses, the COVID and the flu vaccines and all of these things that are available to ward off something that could befall you.
Right. Bearing in mind that we just peaked with our respiratory viruses in the country, and this, as they all come together. We talk about not only COVID, but influenza that we know is flu, and then RSV, the respiratory syncytial virus. And these are the three that have plagued us for the last couple of years, all coming together and really driving up the number of people seeking medical care, but not only that, people who, unfortunately, if they're not vaccinated against these things, can need hospitalization or suffer from severe symptoms, or, God forbid, actually die from these diseases. And so all three of these diseases now have really amazing vaccines. RSV just came out with a vaccine for those ages 60 and above who have health concerns, and both the patient and their doctor feel that the vaccine would benefit them. But it also can be given to pregnant women, and there's some monoclonal antibodies, some of those jazzed up antibodies that can be given directly to infants. And these are the extremes that suffer from RSV and can be either hospitalized or, like we said, suffer severe symptoms all the way up to death. So we now have RSV vaccines that came out in last May, and in August and September timeframe. So we're better protected than ever. We still have our annual influenza shot that's mixed up according to the circulating viruses, or our best guess as to what those circulating viruses will be when that formulation is made. And then even more targeted COVID vaccines as well, right? Because the most recent one targets the most recent type of variant that's circulating, and is good for that. And again, COVID is as bad as influenza has been for us, as bad as RSV is. COVID is what is really creating severe symptoms, hospitalizations, and unfortunately more deaths than even influenza now. So we really want to stress that all of these vaccines are great, and they help people, especially those people who have comorbid conditions or are somehow at risk. Protect yourself, get the right vaccines, and avoid severe illness when you can.
Those vaccines are out there, but they don't do you any good unless you put your arm out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know that there's always some misgivings that people have about when new things come out, but honestly, our technologies for developing vaccines, we can do it safer, quicker, better than we ever had before. And the side effects or potential bad effects of the vaccines are so small now, so infinitesimal when you compare against the possibilities of what could happen if you actually got the disease. It is so worth it. It is so very worth it. So people should definitely take advantage if they fall into a risk category for RSV, and just keep up to date with COVID and influenza. And we've got 2 shots that are out there, RSV for the viral season, and then COVID that you can get anytime.
Dr. Ogden, we appreciate you taking the time, and we're going to break and get away, and we'll come back and we'll talk more right here in the podcast.
One night, one stage. Woo! Country music's hottest supergroup, The Frontmen, featuring Richie McDonald, formerly Lone Star. Baby, I'm amazed by Larry Stewart, lead singer of Restless Heart. Tim Rushlow, formerly of Little Texas. God bless Texas. Chinook Winds Casino Resort. On sale now at Chinook Winds box office or at ChinookWinds.com. At Chinook Winds, where concerts are better at the beach.
Well, greetings. This is Marnie Whipple with Holland America Line, and we are delighted and honored to be a longtime partner with Roger and the team at Always Traveling. We have some exciting news to share with you today, and that is that in Dawson City in the Yukon Territory, the First Nations group of the Tronjekowichan have now been awarded the wonderful recognition of being a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The aim with this in the Yukon Territory is to really share the story of the Indigenous people, the colonialism, and truly the history of the Klondike Gold Rush. So join us and Roger and the team on a beautiful Holland America Line cruise tour through Alaska, Southeast Alaska by cruise, continue on up into Denali National Park and Fairbanks, and then add on even more wonderful adventure, now flying from Fairbanks to Dawson City on an exclusive land tour, heading into Dawson and now this wonderful UNESCO World Heritage Site, and continue on from Dawson into the heart also of the Klondike, Whitehorse, take a wonderful ride into Skagway, Alaska, and continue from Skagway down into Vancouver. It's an incredible journey.
So it's been another interesting program. I do appreciate County Commissioner Claire Hall coming in with her insight into what's happening with county government and the announcement that she is running for County Commissioner again. She's been in office 20 years, going for the next term. That's a long time.
That's a long time, and I think what she's alluding to is that Don Lindley was, I think, the longest serving. And if she would win, then she might become the longest. Maybe. Yep. Is that kind of? She'll
become the number one on the mantle. And again, our thanks to Dr. Lesley Ogden for taking time off to spend some time on the phone with us. It is amazing to me how we can now make a tie into the hospital to get an opportunity to go see a doctor.
Yeah, just she was talking about the way you can, set up an office visit online.
That's amazing to me.
And just schedule it yourself. So, things have really changed and moved on.
Moving too fast for an old man like me, Paul.
I don't think so. You're pretty tech savvy. Running a travel agency has been
a wide awakening.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that we want to talk about is Theater West. I did see Misery. It is an amazing, amazing show. It is the first time that I've sat in Theater West and had my spine tingle.
Yeah, it was well done. I got to see it too, as I mentioned last week. And this is their last week coming up, right?
Yep. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. It goes through the end of the month.
Yeah.
Now we're going to give away some money. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So when we first started the program, we provided a window for supporters to support the Double R Show monetarily. And we came up with this idea of joining the Double R Donut Club. And there are 3 tiers for the Donut Club. There's a donut hole for a buck a month. There is the old fashioned.
I love it.
$5 a month. That's your favorite. I know that. And then we had the Baker's Dozen, which is, of course, $13 a month.
$13.
And with that, we pledged 20% of our net profits that come out of that, after bank fees, et cetera, to a local nonprofit, plus a 1% climate pledge, too, that we do with this program. But the 20% pledge, we solicited nominations from our Baker's Dozen group, and we came up with 3 nominations, and they are the Friends of Lincoln City Parks and Rec, which we've had David Jameson on the show talking about at one time. Friends of Lincoln County Animals, right? Spay and neuter program that helps our North Lincoln County folks, and Neighbors for Kids down there in Depot Bay.
Love it. All good nonprofits.
Indeed. All worthy. And so what we then did is we had a vote from all of those members of the Donut Club. And the number one recipient of the funds then will be, do you have a drum roll?
I wish you would. This is close second.
That's pretty good, though. Friends of Lincoln City Parks and Rec.
So we'll be sending them a check. And again, thanks to that group for the job that they're doing, raising money to enhance the parks right here in Lincoln City.
Yeah. And we heard actually at the chamber as well from Jeannie Sprague, of course, who is the Parks Director.
Yep.
Parks and Rec Director, that there's going to be a big fundraiser thing happening through the department as well soon. So,
lots of activities taking place in and around the community, and we've got a ribbon cutting coming up at Chinook Winds Casino Resort. They are reopening the arcade.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
That is a real big deal, especially for the parents that need someplace for their young people to be. And the next chamber luncheon, I have to encourage people to make their reservations for those chamber luncheons. Today, there must have been close to 80 people that was in attendance for that event.
Yeah, the beach club was full.
And also forthcoming, Chamber is going to be doing their virtual super auction March 20th through the 27th. And talk to Lori up at the Chamber of Commerce office for more information about that. We mentioned Theater West. Also like to talk about the Lincoln City Playhouse. Got Talent. Auditions for Does Lincoln City Have Talent is upcoming. It's going to be February 3rd and 10th, 6 to 9. And contact the LincolnCityPlayhouse.com. And the phone number, 503-913-6876. I wonder if they want me to sing. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Oh, you can always sing on the show if they don't, right?
Maybe not.
Okay.
I don't think that would be a real good plan, but then again, some of the things, the best laid plans of mice and men. Anything else from your side of the table?
No, that'll do it. Thanks for another great show.
That'll do it to the doings on a Double R show. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share so you, your family, friends around the world and across the street can join us on the Double R show. For Paul and Jenna, I'm Double R. Have yourself a happy day.
You've been listening to The Double R Show. Join Roger and Paul Robertson as they explore everything about North Lincoln County. The Double R Show, produced by Always Productions and hosted by Roger Robertson. Have a story? Email contact@alwaysproductions.com or call 458-201-3039. For The Double R Show, I'm Jana Grawn.